It's scary. It's weird. I've lived here for 33 years and nothing's like this has happened here.
Right now, News 8 at 10, a deadly shooting investigation. What police uncovered inside a house in Rock Island and what neighbors say they heard and saw.
And grounded for now, the reason the Quad City Air Show won't be returning this year.
Live from WQAD, News 8 at 10 starts now.
Good evening, I'm Denise Hanetka.
And I'm Jim Mertens. Thanks for joining us tonight. In your top story, police say one person is dead after a shooting in Rock Island. News 8's Christina Hepner joins us now live with more on what happened and why it's leaving neighbors on edge.
Jim, earlier today, the Rock Island Police Department received a call of shots fired in the 500 block of 20th Avenue. That's where they found one person with a gunshot wound, and they were taken to the hospital where they later died from their injuries. It's something people on 20th Avenue say they aren't used to seeing. Police cars blocking off part of the street.
I just seen squad cars going up my block and I seen an ambulance.
This is where the Rock Island Police Department say they found the victim of a gunshot wound inside this house.
I walked up here and heard that there was a shooting out here.
Catherine Overstreet is a longtime resident and says she knows almost everyone on her block, but didn't know the people who lived in this home.
It's scary. It's weird. I've lived here for 33 years and nothing's like this has happened here in this block. I know everybody.
She knows a lot of kids that live on this block and worries about what could have happened to them.
I worry about the kids, and actually it happened probably about 2.5 hours ago. It probably, well, I'm not sure what time it happened, but they could have been, in the middle of, something.
She says this incident is making her more aware.
It always makes you keep your eyes open, and always check on your neighbors.
Police are not releasing the name of the victim at this time, but ask anyone with information to contact the Rock Island Police Department or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live in Rock Island, Christina Hepner, WQAD News 8.
Police in Davenport are asking for help to identify the man they say robbed a bank this afternoon. Police say around 3:30 this afternoon, a man robbed a U.S. Bank branch on Division Street. This is what he looks like. 5 feet 7 inches tall, he's described, with a thin build. Anyone with information is asked to call Davenport Police. A line of severe storms rumbled through eastern Nebraska and then into western Iowa tonight.
At least one tornado was reported near Creston, Iowa. That's southeast of Des Moines. No word on any injuries tonight. Some strong storms also moving to areas just southwest of our viewing area. And as they do, a heads up for people in Oquawka, Illinois. 911 and emergency phone lines are down right now. So if you have an emergency, you should call Monmouth Police. The phone company is working to fix that problem. James Zahara has more on those storms as they roll in.
Yeah, the good news is, yes, it is a nice line of some thunderstorm activity, but nothing severe, so that is some good news out there. In fact, let's do a little tracking with some of these storms on our storm tracker, which you can always check on our website at WQAD.com. And we'll go ahead and zoom in areas just south of the Quad Cities around McDonough and Hancock County. You see a nice little cluster of thunderstorms taking place there from Ferris and Carthage, and you can see just west of the Harp. We drag our way a little bit farther north and right around Spirit Hollow Golf Course, just west and south of Burlington area. We're seeing a nice little cluster of some thunderstorms and some very heavy rain. Maybe a quick 1/4 inch wouldn't be at all surprised as it crosses over the river, makes its way around Oquawka and Biggsville, I would say, within the next 15 minutes or so. And then as we make our way a little bit farther north into Louisa County, a cluster of some activity going on. Looks like just north and west of Columbus Junction and dragging its way around Wapello. Those storms will be continuing to make their way off to the north and east as well. Now, if this line does hold together, I would say it will very likely be making its way around the Quad Cities sometime after 11, maybe around 11:30. And keep in mind, these storms are weakening as they continue to make their way off to the north and east. But for now in the Quad Cities, all is dry, some mostly cloudy skies, and still holding around 50 degrees. Of course, it was a very cool day today, and we not plan on changing that for quite a while. We'll explain for how long in just a few minutes. Denise?
Thank you, James. The future of the Quad City Air Show is in question tonight. The air show's president tells News 8 it will not be returning next year. Instead, organizers are taking next year off. The president said there's not enough space to hold the show at the Davenport Municipal Airport because many of the buildings have been sold to private companies. He said he's been contacted by 6 other airports willing to host it. This year's show is still scheduled for June.
Changes are coming to the Rock Island Arsenal Museum, the nation's second oldest Army museum. More than 3,000 artifacts will be moved from the Arsenal's collection to a facility in Alabama. The changes were addressed at a town hall meeting tonight. There may be additional changes to the museum, but those decisions are being left up to the U.S. Army. The Arsenal says it's committed to telling the story of the Arsenal for years to come.
I approached the subject of the future of this museum from a point of passion and a point of pride in what you do here, and with an interest in seeing it continue.
Arsenal workers were at tonight's meeting and said the focus of the museum is to connect the Army to the society it defends.
One day after the Environmental Protection Agency recommended more testing and water filters, the city of Galesburg is now taking action against high lead levels. The city will now provide free water testing for customers with a lead service line. It will also supply filters if testing tops the action level. The city's response will cost about $90,000. That includes a corrosion study on the water system.
You know, if it helps people have a comfort level and helps them address the situation in the short term, we think it'll be beneficial.
We'd like to get to the bottom of this issue, but we know what causes it, and that our resources, our limited resources, should be focused on that.
The city hopes to have testing and filters available in about a week. It will release information about distribution in the coming days.
One local agency says it'll be closing its doors soon because of the budget standoff in Illinois. Today, the Northwestern Illinois Center for Independent Living in Sterling announced it will be closing in the next 45 days, ending services for some 200 customers. The agency helps people with disabilities live on their own. Just last week, the state Senate approved $450 million in temporary aid to human service programs. That bill now heads to the State House.
He was once the longest-serving Republican House Speaker, but today Dennis Hastert was sentenced to 15 months in prison in a hush money case. That case centering around accusations that Hastert sexually abused at least 4 students while he was a high school wrestling coach in Illinois. Today he admitted to abusing at least 1 victim. Last fall he pleaded guilty to violating banking laws for trying to pay one of those victims off. No word yet when he will have to report to prison. And developing tonight, law enforcement sources say they reportedly found prescription drugs inside Prince's Minnesota home. Investigators wouldn't say whether or not that had anything to do with his death. The sheriff's office investigating is now looking for help from the DEA to see where those medications came from and what prescriptions Prince had. The singer was found dead inside his home last Friday.
In Your Voice, Your Vote coverage tonight, Texas Senator Ted Cruz has not won the Republican nomination, but it didn't stop him from choosing a running mate today. Senator Cruz announced Carly Fiorina as his vice presidential running mate. The Cruz campaign may see her California roots as an asset ahead of California's state primary coming up June 7th. This comes just one day after disappointing results for Senator Cruz in yesterday's series of primaries.
I believe Ted Cruz is the man to lead that fight, and I am prepared to stand by his side.
And Carly is a vice presidential nominee who I believe is superbly skilled, superbly gifted at helping unite this party.
Typically, candidates do not pick their running mate until their party's convention begins. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders is downsizing his campaign staff, laying off hundreds of staff members today. It comes after Senator Sanders lost 4 out of 5 states in last night's primaries. But a campaign spokesperson for Sanders said the layoffs were part of the process moving forward, with only 10 states to go until the Democratic convention. Still ahead on News 8 at 10, bringing back a Quad City favorite.
It's cool to keep something like this going and have it be in the family still.
After the closure of the Belgian village in Moline, how a new generation is bringing back the old tradition with a new twist.
You're watching WQAD News 8 at 10 with Jim Mertens and Denise Anitka.